million on the basis of a criminal act. You want to do something? Forget about Kony. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Obama sent in the commandos. They're gonna, if he's there, they're gonna get him. But what I want to know is the rest of the child armies, the rest of the killers that we're doing very little about, because we have American financiers making hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's on the air on BBC. It's on the air nowhere in America, because God forbid we should touch Peter Grossman, we should touch Paul Singer, we should touch the Koch brothers, we should touch these guys, Pat Robertson. Yeah, okay, we talk about Buddy Robertson, but I want to, he needs to be cuffed for his relationship with the
He sure does.
And
he
one
sure
other thing, by the way, Robertson did.
And you didn't even mention, and so I will, burning little girls as witches over there too, which has all the support of those crazy Christian crusades that they got going on.
Well, the thing is that becomes the evangelical movement becomes, I have not, have whatever, don't burn people. But the problem is, again, all these things happen because there's a profit to be made from it.
Right.
In the case of, even like Pat Robertson, for example, collected all this money for relief effort for Rwanda after the mass killings there. So he's collecting all this money and millions of dollars, and he buys some heavy-duty airplanes which go in, and there's film showing him giving out the food in Rwanda, at the refugee camps in the Congo and in Goma, and then the cameras are turned off. He loads up the planes with heavy-duty mining equipment and flies the equipment using the relief planes, flies the mining equipment to his mines in the Congo. They were never used again for relief efforts. They became planes used purely for Robertson's diamond mining.
Oh, my God. Now, listen, I want to get to this, too, before, because I also want to bring this up now about Africom. If Obama's going to send troops over there to get Joseph Kony, who isn't there anymore, they say, and, who did all this 9 years ago, and is still guilty, and should be taken to The Hague, because they say that, I can't remember where they said that he moved to, that he's not in Uganda at all. And, there's 10,000 other warlords taking over for him. But they say that if just sending troops there, that this video was made as a ruse to get Americans to back Obama sending troops over there, so then they can get all of their hands on all the filthy lucre and resources over there using Africom, and everybody should read about Africom, which is just the way to turn all of Africa into another Haiti.
Well, like I say, Obama, in fact, very few people know this. Obama's already sent troops in. And you're right. This gives a wonderful cover for African for involvement in Africa militarily. We've done almost nothing for Africa economically since Obama's been in. It's hard to, and this makes me sick. It's actually been worse than under the Bush administration.
What's wrong with Obama? Dude, what's wrong with that guy?
Well, like I say, his African daddy abandoned him, and so he's abandoning Africa. So someone's got to pay for that. But the thing is, the other thing you mentioned, by the way, a lot of celebrities like Bono talking about debt relief for Africa.
I didn't name him.
Yeah, and Bono's a decent guy, and he knows what's happening. He knows he got used, by the way.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad he does know that, and I hope he's corrected it.
Well, that we'll see yet, but you had a lot of celebrities whose heart, again, just like the Kony thing, whose heart was in the right place. Let's get rid of all the debt that Africa owes us. And so America and European nations wiped out $14 billion in debt from the Congo, a couple billion from Liberia. But what was not made clear was that then, without the debts owed to us, our treasuries, that left Paul the Vulture Singer and these other characters a free hand. Now they could seize, because they held out the last bits of debt paper that they had, and they're using that to seize every bit of resource that these nations have. The Congo hasn't benefited a dot, hasn't gotten a dime from the debt relief. It's all gone to Paul the Vulture Singer, and then he's tithing some of that back to the GOP. And that's what Bush was doing, and he had Bono over at the White House, and two of them, and Bono was saying, I convinced Bush to reach into his heart and get rid of Africa's debt, and Bush is saying, yes, we got to help these poor little dark people, and he's chuckling because he knows that basically the beneficiary is the GOP's number one donor. The Africans ain't going to get squat. I was just there in the Congo. Filming. I was at a cholera quarantine center. To have cholera in the 21st century, Roseanne, this is nuts. In fact, if people want to go to gregpalast.com, you can see my film from the Congo.
That is just like to make basically concentration and death camps for people to make a profit. I mean, we're right back in the soup.
Well, it's back to now it's a financial colonialism. And so what's happened is the people of the Congo thought that they were going to get the UN, thought they were going to get money to drill 2,000 clean water wells to stop the cholera epidemic.
Right.
And then this guy, Grossman and Goldfinger, and this whole group, which is called AFTA, which is kind of like a Vulture's club of GOP guys.
What is it called?
It's called AFTA. It's called Argentina Fair Trade Association, because one of the nations that the first nation that they attacked was Argentina.
No way. I thought that was a good one. I have not heard this before. I thought that the Fair Trade Argentina thing was a good something. Well,
you have to be careful. The Fair Trade was called Argentina Fair Trade Association. So what they try to do, they've tried to cut off the debts of Argentina. But these guys are really creepy. One story I have in Vulture's Picnic is these vultures taking the AIDS money that we were sending to Zambia. And they were protected because the vultures hired the GOP lobbyist Jack Abramoff, now in jail, but they still use his firm. And so
I think he's out of jail.
Yeah, he's out of jail now, and he's ratting on everyone. So good for him. But we followed the.
Do you think he learned? Do you think he got a conscience or something?
I think he got shafted, that they threw him to the dogs, and so he decided, okay. But no one listens to him because he's discredited. He's such a con man. So they said, let him chatter. No one cares what he says anymore. Even though he has tremendous files. If he actually really was a threat, he would either be back in the jail or not where you could see him, or stuck in an exhaust pipe somewhere. But we followed the president of Zambia, who had taken $3 million from Goldfinger, one of the U.S. vultures, and his operation. Followed him to his bank in Geneva, Switzerland. And before he went to the bank, he stopped and went shopping like you would, I guess, if you went to the bank, except he had millions in his pocket. He spent over $1 million cash at a boutique getting elevator shoes because he's short, and a diamond-studded tie. I mean, the tie alone was $125,000 just for.
They're psychopaths. Let's just cut right to it.
But see, we love this because you buy these nutcases and then we own them, and so you understand he gets the money from a U.S. financier, and it's supposed. By the way, it's supposed to be illegal to bribe a foreign authority. And the FBI, by the way, after my film, by the way, following this guy, was run on BBC, because I got Ms. Badpenny, my chief investigator. She speaks several languages, so she went in to film, by the way, the boutique where he bought all his stuff. And it's hard to film in Switzerland. They don't like you following people to their Swiss bank account. So she got permission by saying, we're filming, she was talking in the local languages, French and German. She said, we're doing a reality film, Shopping with the Rich and Famous. And anyone rich and famous come in? Oh, yeah, just the president of Zambia. So we got that film. We put that on the air, and then Congressman Conyers actually, went right to the Oval Office and confronted Bush with the story that we had.
I remember that.
And so Bush actually had the FBI call me. I'm still waiting for them to grab these guys. This is all, you have to understand, this is supposed to be illegal. This is supposed to be illegal. And So my point is, let's go after Kony.
So the United States is just, pretty banana, isn't it? It's pretty banana.
Yeah, I mean,
even more now with Citizens United, it's totally up for sale. It's totally up for sale to whoever has the most money. So that could be like what, Saudi Arabia? Who can?
Well, this is what I'm very concerned about too with this Citizens United case. I'm writing, by the way, a comic book right now, and I want to get these ideas out in popular form. So stay tuned at gregpalast.com if you want that info. But one of the things that I'm trying to do with Vulture's Picnic is get people to understand that behind the mayhem in Africa, behind explosions of the oil wells in the Gulf, behind by the way, this is the 1-year anniversary of Fukushima, and I have a chapter on Fukushima and the BS we've been given on that. And the idea is to let people know it's not them. It's not those horrible cannibal Africans there. The only reason this mayhem can occur is because it's profitable to someone over here. And if you put the end to the profit over here, the killing stops over there.
Well, you're basically saying follow the money, and that, of course, it's so funny that that's the cure for everything, and it's also ironic that right now people out there, some of them, have the ability to, hack into the centers of money and where, the record of where money goes and who moves it and who owns it. Maybe that could hit the light of day somehow.
Well, you know what I'd like to see? Fine, go arrest Kony, but why don't you arrest the people or at least make illegal the activities of those who are profiting from the suffering? I would like to see. America
never thinks about that, do they? Like they'd rather arrest, all the people who come, up from Mexico. They'd rather go after all of them at great expense than arrest the one industrialist or corporate boss that hires them.
Well, if I got to tell you, if you did what England and Germany and China and most of the world has done, and outlaw Paul Singer's activity,
right?
Whereas what's that line from Romney? The Republican Party celebrates success. What he means is that they celebrate greed and wealth. If a teacher,
I just think it's murder. I think they're like vampires. I think vultures are. I think they're vampires that actually do feed on the blood of suffering children. And you can dress it up, and all the movies reflect like how great pirates are, how great everybody's a vampire now. That's the popular culture throwing up a force field to shield what it's actually doing, because that is what it's actually doing. It's a bunch of vampires in suits.
Yeah, well, and if what I resent about the Kony thing, it's all about those Africans as opposed to we Americans. Right. The Charles Taylor's Child Army got its guns from money from the United States, from money from Pat Robertson. These guys from money from George Bush's gold mining company. That's where these guys get funded. They don't just, they're in the middle of the bush. You don't have AK-47s and mortars grow on, baobab trees. They come from somewhere. Someone's giving them the money to do it and getting something in return. And it's not just that they're selling the diamonds and the oil and the timber out of these areas. It's the mayhem itself is a product that these guys want. Vulture investors like Singer, like Goldfinger, these guys, Paulson, who is the number 2 investor to the Romney campaign, these guys make money when there's mayhem. That's very important. Mayhem is a big part of their process. I'm an economist by training. I discussed a lot of this with Joe Stiglitz, who won the Nobel Prize in economics. We've had long conversations on this. Mayhem is a big part of the process. You can't break down these countries. You can't take their resources unless the whole place is howling mad and swimming in blood. How else do you just grab their resources? And you have to pay a fair amount for these resources if you couldn't suck their treasuries dry. So you couldn't do it if these were safe, stable, democratic nations. They hate that. They do. They hate it. can't make money that way.
My God, it just makes me so sick because it's so stupid and so ultimately costly and inefficient, and it's just like
For
psychopathic.
Yeah, these guys, I actually think that they're up to the point of psychopathic, because a guy like Singer is already worth $4 billion. Oh,
yeah,
way,
I mean, he's never going to be able to spend that money. For, if he spent, $100 million a day forever.
Well, let's put. I have in Vulture's Picnic. I quote Charles Koch. By the way, I did an investigation of Koch in 1996. I have film from my investigation, 96, 16 years ago, Koch. And, I couldn't get anyone interested in America about this guy.
No.
And I could see what they were doing. But one of the things that they were doing was stealing oil. And you see this at Vulture's Picnic. They were stealing oil from the Osage Indian Reservation. They were skimming oil.
Right.
And they were making what? I figured that they were taking about $3 a week from each Indian family on the reservation that they were cheating them out of. And there is I got some hidden wired conversation with Koch's top guy, and he's talking about Koch giggling and laughing about taking this money, and the guy wanted to know, well, why exactly are you doing this? Because Koch at the time was already worth $1 billion, and Charles Koch personally ordered. It wasn't like some way down the food chain of the corporation. Charles Koch personally ordered the drivers to increase the amount of theft, personally. And so this guy's kind of asking, well, what do you need it for him? He's already a billionaire. What does he need $3 from some Indian, right? And Koch said a line I'll never forget. Koch told the guy, I want my fair share. And that's all of it. And that's all of it.
Oh, that was his fair share is all of it?
All of it. I want my fair share, and that's all of it. And then from that point, since I first did that investigation, he's made another $20 billion. His brother's made another $20 billion. It's to the point. It's psychopathic. It's psychopathic, and these people are picking. So you have psychopaths picking our president. I mean, you have to understand people where they're stealing $3 a week from an Indian family, and they're worth billions. This is not. It's not just evil. You have to understand, and they're picking the president. It's psychopathic, and they are going to be using the president as the White House as a profit center. They don't even like Romney. By the way, some of these guys are Democrats, registered Democrats. Koch was going to run, by the way, for governor of Kansas as a Democrat. Okay, just so you know. But then instead he got his buddy Brownback to take over as governor, which he did by doing push polling. You'll love this, Roseanne. The Koch
I know all about
push polling to call the voters in Kansas to say, do you know that Brownback's opponent is Jewish? It was better. They also paid for another set of ads in which they questioned, do you know about the allegations of child molesting against Democratic, which they used against Democratic congressional candidates? Man. Like that? I mean, they didn't accuse him of child molesting. He said, are you aware of accusations? Well, there weren't any accusations, but, they asked people if they're aware of any accusations. And, this is the people who are now going to be calling the shots. Not that they don't, they have tremendous influence in the Democratic Party, but they absolutely own, control, and call the shots in the Republican Party. And when you see a completely empty soul, a totally hollow man like Romney, right, with so much money, he vomits it. He has to stick his thumb down his throat before he goes on air, otherwise the bills just fall out, right? But yet he is compared to the guys behind him like Singer, Paulson, Bill Koch is on his Restore Our Future. These characters, Simon, the guys behind him, everyone knows about the other guys, but the guys behind Romney, I mean, he doesn't have enough money to shine their shoes, because he's only worth $250 million. The amount that these guys are worth is just insane.
Well, they just want their fair share after everybody else does all the work, and they just go in and fire them and steal it. I mean, they must,
like
they do think that they're smarter than everybody.
Well, Singer is, actually.
Oh,
Watch out. These people, I went to school with some of these people, by the way. I went to the University of Chicago.
Well, how can we get Singer? And I don't mean in any violent way, but how can we stop him?
Well, in England and in Germany, Holland, China, they've outlawed these vulture activities. That's number one.
Right.
Vulture's out of business. The law is you cannot collect 100 times what a nation owes you, any more than you can. We have Fair Debt Collection Practices Act in the United States. Okay, there's a limit to what they can collect on your credit card debt. They can't they can't keep charging you that if you owe $500 that they then charge you $5,000. That's one of the reasons why Obama just set up. Again, he's not great, but he did something, setting up this whole consumer protection, financial protection agency. You can't. If someone owes $5, you can't turn into you can't say, "Oh, look at page 12 of your agreement. It's now worth $5,000." Okay. Same with these other nations don't allow this stuff. If a nation owes $50 million, they pay $50 million, not $5 billion. That's number one. So you outlaw this stuff. That's one. Number two, you tax this stuff. Okay, which is very, very important. And you got to get their money out. You have to expose them so that they have to say who they are and what they do. That's the biggest problem of Citizens United. It's not the amount of money going in, it's the secrecy of it. You're talking like if you have money that's coming straight from Citibank's treasury, who is that? Well, it's 9% owed by Prince Talal of Saudi Arabia. Is this Saudi Arabian money? And a big chunk of Romney's money, of the Romney Super PAC, Restore Our Future, yeah, I can identify. Singer, Paulson, and Koch want you to know they're there. They want you to know that their teeth and claws are out, okay? But there's other money in there. There are things like P.O. Box 22 Corporation. What the hell is that?
What is it?
Well, I don't know. They appear, they make a donation, then the corporation disappears. It's just a form filed by a lawyer. Its address is a lawyer's office.
So it's just a money drop. So really, what it really is, isn't it, is that, Reagan, the architect of our downfall, when he, and it's celebrated by all these crazy traitors against American workers, but, when he always talks, and when all of those right-wingers always talk about deregulation, what they mean is, the ability to be above the law, to deregulate law and justice, so they can just go around Ponzi scheming, ripping off, pirating, murdering anybody they want to for money.
I was just writing about that today. You'll enjoy this one. I'm putting out this book, Election Games, Billionaire Ballot, the Pandemic.
Okay, you've got to give us. We have to ask you now to give us the names and spell it of your websites and your books, please.
Okay, what you want to do is you want to pick up Vulture's Picnic. And but if you want to get a taste of it, including the interactive version with the video in it, go to vulturespicnic.org. No apostrophe or anything. One word. Vulturespicnic.org. It's his first chapter. Download that. Or just go to gregpalast.com. That's GregPalast, gregpalast.com. And like everyone else, I've also got my Facebook page and Twitter, of course. But get the, people can handle the book. Until Patriot Act 3, you can read a book. So at least get down the first chapter, and I promise you there's a lot of sex and insanity. It's a good detective story, but it's all for real. And you'll meet Goldfinger, you'll meet Singer, the Vulture, and you'll meet the CIA bagmen and the MI6 guys and the whole crowd of people who are basically the landlords of the planet. And I think that's important. I think it's important for people to know these things. That's why I mentioned Singer. People finally glommed onto the Kochs. Now let's start adding to our list of the guys we know so we can identify them.
Yes, that's great. Let's make them famous like we're doing Joseph Kony.
Yeah, I know, it's so cheap. Let's have Paul Singer and these guys who are making the money off those killings. Let's have the video about him. Well, actually, I have some of that. If you go, BBC has my stuff from the Congo with the child soldiers, but it then goes back to the U.S. and said, here's the cause of it. Here's the people behind it. That's what's missing. The Americans behind it. I don't have to go to Africa to find bad guys. They're here. You get rid of the bad guys here. The bad guys in Africa suffocate because they have no money, no place to sell or their stuff, no guns coming in. You cut off grab the guys here. You read Pat Robertson is right, and Kony disappears. That's what happens.
Right.
Hey, I know you promised people that it's funny. I guess I'm not being funny today. Sorry.
Well, I didn't say that you were funny. I didn't.
I am. I'm usually pretty humorous. Come on.
Well, you do have humor, and we all need that, don't we?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a campaign question now on a personal note as an advisor. And if I do win, I will ask you to advise me. What?
Okay, go ahead.
If I win the presidency of the United States, what's the single most important thing you think I could do?
Make me vice president?
You could run for vice, definitely.
Yeah, make murder a crime. And what I mean by that, and if your weapon is money, you serve the time just as you would if your weapon is a knife.
Geez, that's so profound, man. You are on the exact same page as me. People, have been hoodwinked and bamboozled into thinking a piece of paper is going to keep them alive and not a tomato.
Okay. Well,
what are you laughing? Don't you agree?
I'm not allowed to
that people think that they can eat money. Billionaires think they exist from money.
Yeah, because, you got to read I got to tell you, there's one thing that everyone has to read from Vulture's Picnic, which is there's a lot of things, but have a fun part about Steve Kony, the sack. And it's all about this guy's worth $7 billion.
What's his name?
Steve Kony.
Steve?
Steve Kony, Cohen.
Steve, but like Steven?
Yeah, like Steven. And insider trading is how he's made his billions. At least that's my information, okay? And he's always somehow, but he's worth $7 billion now, okay? But everything is about impressing his mommy because he had his mommy. I see. By the way, one of my sources is one. I go to ex-trophy wives. Great sources. They're very angry.
Oh God, that's genius. I love
info. Right. So I go to his ex-trophy wives, and they say every week they'd have to go to his mommy's house, and she would tell him, "All I know is money makes the monkey jump. Money makes the monkey jump," and then he would leave in tears because no matter how many billions he made, he never made the monkey jump for mommy.
Well, his mom's just a whore. That's too bad. That's not cool when your mom's a whore.
What these guys are doing.
Their moms are whores. What can you expect? Dude, I love you, and I appreciate your being on with me, and thank you for all the facts. Our time is up. Love you, baby. Bye.
AM 1050 KCAA is proud to